It is now time for some Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 talk and some discussion for today. And I feel like we're going to be getting this new game this year. You see SpongeBob getting ready. He excited. He looking around. He's curious as well for his next big adventure hitting the track. And I think we're going to be heading right back on the racetrack when it comes to Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 because this game's been out for a while, and just from the pattern that everyone usually sticks to is that every few years we get some kind of new installment or additional sequel when it comes to some of these games. We had Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 Slime Speedway, which is what we have now, with this big roster of 42 characters or 40 racers. I forgot the many characters or many racers that they have. I think it was around 40 characters playable, which is a giant roster, and they can do so much more for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 if it comes out this year. And I'm going to give my release date predictions, and I'm also going to be talking about some of the most wanted characters that I want to see alongside of my tracks wish list all into one video. So you guys can talk about some of the racers that you would like to see playable and some of the new shows that you think you would probably have a chance to be able to get seen and represented in this game. And seeing new reps like Susie Carmichael, who deserves to be in, and then Zuko, which is awesome, but he was DLC. We're going to be talking about that in just a few. But this roster, I was really happy with it. But the only two things that bothered me the most, just like everybody else out there, Eastman Raphael and Purple Reptar with no stat differences and having two separate character slots. And I just don't know how they went with this, because Purple Reptar is no different from the original Reptar. They have the same stats. It's the same character, no stat differences, but a different color. It's just a color palette swap, or just a skin or a costume, whatever you want to, just however you want to put it. It's a different color swap between purple and green Reptar with no stat differences. See how they have the same stats? If I'm doing something like this and I decided, well, let's just do another color palette swap, make them at least sound different and not even just make them look different, of course, with their color. It's just a different color. It's just a color palette swap. These two characters or racers, Eastman Raphael and Purple Reptar, could have been a slot or just some kind of selectable skin or selectable color palette swap, depending on whether, well, I'll just say it. Well, I feel like playing as Reptar, but I think in the net I'll play as green Reptar for the first race, and then the next race or the next cup that I want to play in, I'll switch to Purple Reptar. See what I'm saying? They could have just see how the button options at the bottom of the screen, they don't have any sort of options to select costumes. That would be something unique to be able to get featured in Nickelodeon Kart Racers, because none of these games from the Kart Racers series never had costumes included. Why not go that route and make it a costume instead of making these two characters separate slots? They could have got two additional characters that deserve to come back in. Tommy, Pickles, and so much more could have made it back in, and along with new shows. But we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But that's just something that really bothered me the most about this game. But I really like the voice acting and so much more. I turned off the voices throughout this entire video, so the voice lines don't get annoying to the viewer, to you guys or anything like that. You know, whether you're new to the channel or you're just a regular wanting to listen in and see what I think about Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4. I don't want them repeating the same thing over and over and over. So, you know, people are really closing out and they don't want to hear the voices over and over for the voice lines, as funny as they are in the game to listen to. But just a quick predictions for a release date. I'm just going to throw it out there. I feel like we're probably going to see Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 make an appearance maybe later this fall. I think we're going to get like a summer reveal. We'll probably get a trailer sometime this summer, and then once the fall starts getting closer, we'll get a fall release, because Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 came out October 14th from my memory. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 had an October 14th release date for a public release date for all platforms, and maybe we'll get something like that for this sequel if we end up getting something brand new with all these different features and things like that, with newer characters and more. Maybe they have more in store for the next game. So I think I would go with that for a release date prediction: a fall release and then a summer trailer reveal for what we'll probably be able to expect to see for some of these characters and for this next game. I'm not sure what they're gonna do for some of these characters. Maybe some of them will get removed, but let's start talking about my most wanted new racers that I want to see make it into this game. And the one thing outside of just having the color palette swaps was the online unlockables. I hope these characters are not locked behind online like a specific racer. She was the only one that was locked behind online wins, where you have to win. You not winning, and if you ain't winning in these matches online, you will never have a chance to play as none of these characters, and you won't be able to play as Helga. You have to be online and you have to come in first place. Anything less than first place, you will never get none of these characters. And I hope that they don't do that again for this upcoming sequel, if they decide to bring it out this year at some point in the future, where racers will be able to be unlockable from the shop or actually playing the game outside of the online winning mechanic, because it puts pressure on the player. Some people still don't understand that, because I had some people get it twisted. How's it pressure on the player when the character's online, the character's locked behind online? Because not only do you have to be online, you got to be good at the game, and none of these players ain't gonna let you win free. They're not going, if they're nice enough, they'll let you win a race or two, but they're not gonna just gift you all those wins. They want you to earn it in this game. You have to win, and it puts the pressure on the player. If you haven't played the game that much, or if you're new to the game and you're just trying to unlock characters, and you go against someone who's been playing the game since day one, you won't stand a ghost of a chance. They're gonna beat you every time, and they gonna know the ins and outs of the games and all the best ways and the shortcuts, and being able to dominate you every single match. And they'll know the tricks and have the best characters, while you're gonna be limited to a select few characters that might not have the best speed. They might not have the best stats, and be superior with speed with characters like Arnold and Aang and Powder Toast Man, and even characters like Leonardo, who have the most speed. Jojo Siwa is pretty one of them too. Lucy Loud is pretty good, and so much more. Ablina, Zem, who have pretty good stats too. They won't be able to have a chance. You won't have a chance to win. So I don't want them doing this for none of these characters, whether they're new or returning characters. I want people to have a chance to be able to unlock some of these characters instead of grinding it online and hoping that you win, because it's just extra pressure playing and then having to win, and the odds are stacked against you when you're playing players from day one who are just looking to get everything unlocked. And it's just this requirement of being able to win. It's pressure for the player, and you just gotta win the matches to get the rewards. Otherwise, you will never get anything. You don't get anything if you just, I'll just play an online match. You're not gonna get anything if you're not winning. So that's just something that was a major problem with this game, and I think it turned a lot of players off from the game. They moved on very quickly. It wasn't just Helga who was the only exclusive racer. It was the crew members themselves. Crew members, and then Chiefs. Grandma Gertie was one of them, from memory. And then playing other different things, another grind outside of the grind from the online, outside of the online unlockables and crew members. I think it was one of the Loud House members. It was Lori. She was one of them too. Some of the crew members. And outside of the online, Judy, some people didn't know Judy Neutron was in this game. She's in the arena matches, but you have to play like 80, well, close to over 90 arena matches, and you have to win. It was just all about winning when it comes to these games with these characters. So that was just a major blow to the fan base and for the people that didn't want to play the game anymore. But now let's just start. I just wanted to throw that out there before just talking about the characters, and hopefully they don't have those kind of unlock conditions with these new characters if they get into this game and whoever they decide to go with for this roster. So let's just run through the list. You guys could take a look at the list in the description if you want to, and you can share your list in the comments, or maybe it's that one character that you're gunning for and you're hoping to see in the game to make a return, or just a new face or a new show to get represented in this game for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4. So we got Timmy Turner. I don't know if he's gonna get in. It's a reach, it's a stretch. I definitely want to see him make it into the game. We need new shows. It was nice to see some of these new characters make it in, even though I haven't really watched too much of these episodes for shows. So for Squidina, like Patrick Star Show and things like that, and Camp Coral, SpongeBob. But you see how they're, at least they're different. They not only look different, but they're from a completely different show, from a different show from the past or something like that, the younger versions of them. And they sound different, they look different, and they have different stats. That's what they should have did for some of those other specific racers. Ember from Danny Fana, I think is going to probably be able to get a good chance, because since she made it into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. El Tigre, and I also went with Frida Suarez. I think she could be a cool playable character. And then for some more SpongeBob reps to stack up. So we got SpongeBob Patrick right now. We'll probably end up, we got Squidward in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. So I think he'll make it back for sure. But I went with Mr. Krabs and Plankton with Karen. Mr. Krabs and Plankton with Karen. Now, Mr. Krabs and Plankton are both chiefs, but now they became playables in All-Star Brawl 2, if you can believe it. Mr. Krabs is the first DLC character from the season pass who just came out early February. And Plankton came in and joined as one of the newcomers for the base roster. So I think they're going to do something of a similar fashion with Plankton and Mr. Krabs becoming playable racers. One of these two characters I think are probably going to be playable, but I would love to see both of them make it in and become playable and get the upgrade, so they're not chiefs, because they always been chiefs, you know, outside of Nicktoons Racing. I missed out on that game because some of you guys are saying Plankton was a secret unlockable character and secret racer in Nicktoons Racing. He was only playable in that game, but he didn't make it in the first, second, or the third game. As you can see, he never became playable outside of Nicktoons Racing, being that secret unlockable. Some new shows I also kept with I added with Fairly Odd Parents and El Tigre. I put in Big Nate because they have so many different Nickelodeon shows. I think they're gonna probably end up trying to get some of their newer characters in new Nicktoons characters, like Big Nate could become one. I would love to see Rocket Power in this game for racers. We got all these new different additional shows, like even some characters like Odie became a playable. So I'm sure they could probably get someone like a Rocket Power rep. Also went, some Rocket Power reps like Otto, Reggie. Hopefully they'll become playable racers. And if not, I'm gonna say some additional things once I finish this list up. But Ickis, I think he could be upgraded. He's a chief. He's always been a chief. He was a chief. Well, I don't think he was in the. He didn't exist in the second game. So, Ickis and Crumb were the newest characters for chiefs, and Ablina, was already in the second game as well. But as a playable, she's always been playable. Well, why not one of the new real monsters? I think it'll probably be Ickis, most likely, because I don't see Crumb being a playable. Considering how he looks with his character model. As cool as he is, I like them all. It's another great show that I grew up watching. So I think Ickis can definitely get upgraded to be a playable. And the one thing that's wild about this game is that they don't have a single Wild Thornberries character from the Chiefs and the crew members. They don't. See how people got changed, like Angelica and things like that, which I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. But they don't have a single Wild Thornberries rep. They don't have a Wild Thornberries rep. They don't have a track. They don't have any crew member or a racer for Wild Thornberries. So I just think they could have done a lot more. See all that extra space they could have got in? So I added Eliza Thornberry. She was a Nicktoons Racing playable. And then I also slid in Darwin. I did a little bit of research since I missed out on Nicktoons Racing that I mentioned earlier, with Plankton being a secret playable and unlockable. Eliza and Darwin were actually playable in Nicktoons Racing, and they were the two Wild Thornberries characters. So I think maybe they'll go with them, or they might end up bringing Nigel Thornberry into the game. I think that'll be really cool to see, because, you know, just to get some new reps in the game. They don't have any characters that's in this game, you know. They don't have Wild Thornberry characters at all, but they stacked up on additional Hey Arnold characters, you know, that got in, and so much more that they can do. So why not Wild Thornberries to get in, and then newer shows additionally to get in alongside of it. Tough Puppy, and I went with Tough Puppy's Dudley Puppy and Kitty Katswell, that I think a lot of people will like. Cindy Vortex even got into this game, so that you see how they do double reps. They might double down on maybe 2 reps per show for some of those additional new reps, because Jimmy Neutron was never in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 in the first 2 games, or in Nicktoons Racing. He made it into the 3rd game, and he also became a playable new fighter in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 from that reach as one of the newcomers. The newcomers was Squidward, Plankton, and so much more. Azula, and it goes on and on for the characters. So I think they're going to definitely bring him back along with some others. But you see how Cindy ended up getting in to join alongside of him, which was another good move. I like the character models in this game. Definitely some of my favorites. So if they do Tough Puppy, they could do Dudley and Kitty Katswell. And then let's start talking about the Loud House for a little bit to wrap up my list for most wanted characters and racers, or for new characters I'd like to see. Lucy, Loud, and Lincoln, Lucy, and Clyde made their return, and these 3 characters, or this trio, to represent the Loud House, they made it back because Clyde, Lucy, and Lincoln Loud was in the 2nd game, so they carried over and got brought over. But what's the harm in adding a new Loud House rep? Like, let's get over here. A new Loud House rep. Yeah, Lisa's in it. She's a chief. And Lynn, I might want on some of these characters, but some of y'all know more about the Loud House than me. I think you guys should probably go with Lori or Leni Loud to be one of the new playable racers in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4. I think that'll be really awesome to see one of these new additional Loud House reps to stack up. They'll probably end up going a 4th one. Maybe they'll move Clyde. I'm not sure. Maybe they'll change it. See how Shredder got changed. Maybe one of the Loud House characters are probably going to get changed and get upgraded and get the promotion, I'll say, and become a playable racer. Could be Leni. It could be Lori. But we don't know who it could possibly end up being between these characters. So I think they will probably go that route. And a little silly pick for my new racers, or most wanted characters, I went with a silly pick of a Nick Jr. character I wanted to just throw in there with Dora the Explorer. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think it is. I just wanted to make the list a little bit more interesting and just throw in a silly pick like Dora the Explorer that could be a cool racer to see down the line. But I am going to talk about DLC in a little bit. So those are my most wanted new racers for newcomers. I could have added so much more, and it goes on. Heffer can make it back, and we're going to start talking about returning characters that I wanted to see make a return, because Tommy just basically got sent to the Shadow Realm from this game, and nothing against Chucky and Susie. I'm glad Susie got in. She deserves to get a spot, because Susie was a chief in the 2nd game, and she's so much fun to play. And I like her voice lines in the game and so much more. I think she's going to also make a return too. So hopefully they don't downgrade her and put her back to being a chief. And for Rugrats reps, we only got Chucky and Susie for playable racers. But Angelica got the boot and got knocked down and became a chief. She's not that good. She throws a projectile in the art and you can't even fire it backwards. It only goes forward. It's cool to see her character model, but she should have been a little bit better. She's one of my favorite Rugrats characters and one of my favorite, characters for Rugrats reps and things like that. I would like to see her make it back for my list. So I got Tommy, Pickles, Angelica, and then I already mentioned Heffer, who can rejoin his best buddy Rocco as another playable to return because he was playable in the second game. But for Heffer, he's a cheat, so he got the same fate with Angelica, basically. And then the other returning character I would like to see, oh, he's a crew member, Shredder. He can probably make his return, be a boss, and be unlockable. And I want them to do more for these characters. And then some people don't talk about some of the crew members and mention other than the other missing crew members from the second game that didn't make it into this game and that ceased to exist, like Kimi from Rugrats, Dill, and then let's get back over here. You know what? Let's go back. Someone's just swapping. See, Firelord Ozai came in, so Ozai basically I feel like replaced Iroh, and then also that missing chief, Winslow from Cat Dog. Anybody remember him? Cat Dog's Winslow was a chief. He never made it back in. He's completely gone. Maybe they'll bring them back. Maybe they will bring them back, and they'll probably end up stacking up. I wouldn't even have a problem seeing the Greasers be a playable as a trio. The Greasers are another additional crew member, which were already in the second game. So they could probably do something like that, split them up. It'll be really awesome to see that, because Cat Dog doesn't really get that many reps, I don't think. But they got Rancid Rabbit. He'll be a playable by some chance. They got a lot of characters they can stack up on. So those are some of the missing crew members that I noticed that didn't make it back in. And I almost forgot about Lily from Loud House. Didn't make it back in. So, but Lily is basically was a diaper. She had that little diaper item. So then maybe some of those items could probably come back in too. But the one thing I want to say for as far as the characters, that's all the things I want to say as far as characters. But just some additional things I want to react to. The DLC. The DLC was just for Zuko. It had Zuko, Laird, Eastman Laird, Raphael, who shouldn't have been DLC when he's just a color palette swap with no difference. He has the same voice lines, he has the same stats as the original Raphael. There's no really different, nothing any different. You see how they do the same animation? Striking a pose, looking around, waving. They could have made him at least sound different or give him a different stat. If you're gonna make someone a color palette swap of a racer, which I hope that they don't do again. Same voice line, same stats, nothing different besides a different color. So I want the DLC to be something more than what they did with this Turbo Edition, where you could get Zuko. If you didn't get the DLC and buy the Turbo Pack, if you didn't buy the Turbo Pack or get the Turbo Edition, you wouldn't have Zuko on your roster. Zuko, Eastman Laird, Raphael, Shredder was also included in the DLC pack with the Turbo Pack. And then also it was Firelord Ozai, and then the slime parts, and then on top of that, let me go over there to head over to the paint. It also contained the slime parts with the slime exhaust pipes, with the slime engines and stuff like that, or the slime exhaust pipes and the slime wheels. And then you had the KCA paint, orange and the original purple one. That's what the DLC was. Now, I'm hoping that they go that route for DLC for add more racers. So let's say certain characters don't make it in, it opens up the doors for more chances for other characters to get in to replace these two. I don't want to see Eastman Raphael or Purple Rothchar again. They could become color palette swaps, or just be able to be a different color option for some of these other characters. The other turtles, almost forgot to say this, the other turtles, Leonardo, Mikey, and Donatello, can have their own Eastman costumes if they're going to go that route, and they can be selectable within the push of a button, so you can change the look and the costumes of the characters. They can do something like that for more unlockable conditions from playing the character a few times. Not winning, of course, but they can be additional costumes for people to be able to unlock, but not be separate racers. It was not necessary. So I'm hoping DLC can contain new shows and actual characters that are missing from the roster that should have made it back in, like Tommy and things like that. And I don't have a problem with JoJo Siwa. Unpopular opinion, she's one of the best characters that I like to play. And things got really intense in the second game. She was really helpful, and just her speed and her stats alone makes her a really good character. So whether or not she returns, I would not be surprised if she doesn't. But if she does, most likely, I don't know what could be going on, but she's definitely one of my favorite characters to play, and I don't have a problem with her getting into the roster or coming back if they decide to bring her back. And if she's not, that's okay too. And one of her crew members, the Bobo, she's one of my favorites to use in one of my combos when I'm playing online, and she's very helpful when you want to try to win matches, because she gets that protection, and then she also gives you that boost. So you're basically invincible, so where nothing can touch you, and then you just get that bonus. I definitely hope they keep the football head himself. It's not about, the size of his head decreases his playability. They put him in this game, they can bring him back and stack up and bring out more additional characters to get in. Waffle Woman could be able to get in. It's just so many different options they can add. Vlad Plasmius, who's always been a crew member, things like that, he can be able to be a playable racer. It's so many things that they can go for DLC for all new reps and new shows that deserve to get a shot and be out and get represented in this game. They have so many good options. This roster was huge. It can be so much bigger, and they don't have to settle. Well, the game came out, and now there's not going to be anything else, and that's all you're going to get. Game comes out, and then there's nothing else, no future plans. And we also, I'm going to say this too, most people probably won't bring it up in their videos, we need a dedicated, consistent Twitter page that's not going to go ghost once the game launches. Let's find out what's going on. Let's get some communication, so the viewer and the players and the fans out there that's still playing this game, and the upcoming players that's going to end up purchasing the game later on outside of its launch date at a later date, can be able to get informed and be able to have questions answered. We don't want to just be sitting there just guessing and then not know what's going on with the future of the game. It just gets left behind and people move on. When there's no communication and nothing being talked about, we got to find out what's going on. We need a dedicated Twitter page. We need something similar to what we had from this. The Twitter page for Kart Racers 3 was awesome, but they went ghost. So they didn't communicate. They didn't tell us anything that was going on, and they didn't tell us that some of these things were going to get fixed. And there's a lot of things that's in this game that's still lingering from bugs and problems that never got really addressed, and it just went away. There was never any other additional posts that never came out. Oh, that's it for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. Stay tuned for more in the future. We didn't get none of that. They just completely went silent. We need some good communication, some consistency, so that we can start finding out and be able to stay up to date on everything that's going on. But when they not doing it, I'm gonna be talking about the game, and I'm gonna be doing a similar guide that I did with this one. I'm the only one who made a guide for this, because people didn't know how to unlock some of these characters. They didn't know how to get access to things, and when everything was such a big mystery. Because you wouldn't know anything unless someone told you. So we gotta get some good communication for these games, so people can stay up to date and we stay in the light. Can't leave fans in the dark and think they're gonna stay around and stick around. So, but now let's just move on and wrap up. We're gonna start talking about the tracks. I'm gonna go back, since I turned the voices off so it won't get annoying for you guys. Even though I let the voice lines, let's just do. Also want to bring this up too. I want to see more bosses. Instead of just 6 bosses, they can do more, 12 bosses, something like that you can unlock. I want to see the challenges come back too, but I already mentioned that earlier, in my other video for hopes and my hopes and wishes. But let's bring up the tracks. We're not going to play anything, of course, but I love all the tracks in this game, how it's designed, how just the UI, the user interface. I love how it's each design, it shows different things. The trophies look good. That lasagna trophy looks delicious. Just looking at it. But let's start talking about my tracks that I want to see the most And I did a couple of them, several of them, and these are also in the description. I really love these tracks in the game that you guys could be able to take a look and check out for yourself. But my favorite tracks, or the tracks that I want to be able to see in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4, Miracle City from El Tigre. Why not? That'll be awesome. It made it into All-Star Brawl 2. Let me see. Yes, it's this one. This is perfect. This is right on it. Hawaii looks really good, but imagine Wild Waterfall or the Wild Savannah from Wild Thornberries. They can do something like that to get us a track to be represented. And then Chalkzone, maybe a Chalkzone track if they can't get none of the characters. See how it's so many characters that I left out? You know, Snap and Rudy to Booty and so much more that can get into the game. How about Chalkzone? That would really look cool. And then for SpongeBob tracks, I'm gonna start mentioning. We got Mrs. Puff Boating School. I love playing on this one. Jelly Meadows is one of my favorites. And it looks one of the most amazing tracks. See that picture? It looks really good, colorful. It looks really well done. Also love the Wonderland. Kept on playing it over and over. It's one of my favorites because of that music. Camp Coral is another one that got in. The Lost City of Atlantis. Is Atlantis from SpongeBob? I almost forgot. So that's basically it. But I want to bring up. Let's bring this one, a little Miss Puff Boating School. But from SpongeBob's additional tracks, I added Rock Bottom and the Krusty Krab. And the reason why I brought up the Krusty Krab to be added in, because the Chum Bucket is one of the most playable stage in All-Star Brawl 2. Maybe they might end up adding that as a playable track potentially. But I added the Krusty Krab over the Chum Bucket. So I went Rock Bottom and the Krusty Krab from SpongeBob SquarePants. And then we got a Jimmy Neutron track that made it into the game. Let me see. Yeah, it's Retroland. Retroland is one of my favorite tracks in this game as well that I really enjoyed. And it was one of my old tracks that I wanted to see from my old wish list that I did for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. So I'm glad this made it in. But now I wanted to add in Retroville. How about Retroville for Jimmy Neutron? The Angry Beavers, the Beavers Home for a track. Since they both made it in as newcomers from the other recent game. See, I just keep bringing that up. If they bring up those characters, the Beavers, El Tigre, and so much more to All-Star Brawl 2, they definitely gonna probably get in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 this year if it comes out. And then, since I already mentioned Rocket Power earlier, I went Ocean Shores as an additional track. And then I'm gonna put, and now I wanted to wrap up my little tracks wish list for 2 reachable, I was just say some stretches, some real stretches. How about, and this is something I was thinking about, see the Hawaii with the volcano? How about Volcano Island from Nicktoons Unite? How cool would that be? How cool would that would be to see that get into this kind of game? Volcano Island as a little bit of a shout out to Nicktoons Unite, one of the best crossovers. I still need to play that game. Battle for Volcano Island. How about Volcano Island for a track? I think everybody will want to see something like that. And some people thought that this was going to be Volcano Island once they saw the Hawaii track preview. People thought it was Nicktoons Unite's Volcano Island, but they can go that route for this game. And if not, for launch day, it can get in later as an update. They could do more with not just the racers, add additional tracks, new tracks to play on for us to play and make the players to buy. Get little trap packs, things like that. New characters, new racer. Every new racer comes with a new track. That'll be awesome to see. And just new tracks they can add. I went with Volcano Island for Nicktoons Unite. And then the last one, Fairy World from Fairly Odd Parents. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I would hope that they would try to be able to bring some of these characters and this kind of track in. It will look amazing. Easily one of my most favorite tracks. I would definitely keep on playing that. Fairy World. I was going to throw in the Dimsdale Dimmadome, but I just went Fairy World instead. But I would be cool with either one of those tracks to be able to make it into this game. Fairy World or the Dimsdale Dimmadome. And then they can have Doug Dimmadome in the background. Something like that. And he can be talking. Look at he said, I'm Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. He could get into the game, something like that. It'll be funny to see him as a playable. But he could appear as a background character that you could spot when you race on the Dimsdale Dimmadome. But you see all these amazing tracks that they have. Fire Nation didn't even exist in the second game because they had Water Try and Ba Sing Se. I think they had, or the Spirit World. I think it was just these that were in it. It was just these three. Fire Nation was the newest track. It didn't even exist. But you see how they added more. They could do so much additional things for the future of the game. Not even just launch the game, but just come out and have future plans set and some communication for the game, so that way we'll be able to have things to look forward to and the players can stay excited and engaged with the game instead of dropping it so quickly. So that's all I wanted to really talk about. I wanted to share my release predictions, characters, and talk tracks. And you guys can share some of the tracks and the characters that y'all want to see in the live chat. This is definitely probably going to most likely be a live premiere. You guys can share your wishes and your thoughts, and maybe your plans. Maybe you probably don't want to get it yet. You probably want to see if it's going to be what they're going to do for the game before buying it, and see what they do with the unlockables and the features. And I almost forgot one last final thing. I would hope that this game has crossplay. It needs to have crossplay because you don't want to just come into a lobby and just try to find a match, and then you just want to try to get into a match. You say, ready to play some games. Let's pick Chucky, something like that. You want to just come into the match. You try to find somebody. It's gonna look like this. You don't want it looking like this. You want to have. You see all these slots. You want to be able to have players come in and just be able to be guaranteed to find a race. When it has no crossplay and then there's no communication, it's just gonna look like this. And I hate to say it. We want to have crossplay and be able to have access to these characters, because people don't want to grind the online and then, well, you gotta win, and if you're not winning, you're just not gonna get any characters unlocked. So I'm hoping that they bring out some crossplay, a crossplay feature. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 got it. This game can get it too, and it's just gonna be more easier. It'll be much more easier to match up with players, meet new people, get to know them, and have fun, and be able to just host your own customs. I would love to do that. It was fun doing it for Nickelodeon Kart 3, but it didn't last long because people started finding out about those online unlockables, and they couldn't get anything unlocked. So with the crossplay, with no necessity of being able to having to win a match, it will have people move away from the game, and then they just don't want to play, and then they can't find players. They're gonna move on to the next game, and then with that communication lacking and no sort of future update, it's just gonna hurt the game's player base really quickly. So that's just something I wanted to mention before closing this out. So feel free to share your thoughts on when you think it could come out. Do you think you see it coming out this year like I do? Some racers that you would like to see, tracks, maybe some new returning characters that you want to see, new series, and considering the fact that this is a racing game, I like seeing this. This is the background. It's very creative. I love these different art designs. I'm hoping that they go for more. That way we'll be able to have additional things that we can look forward to and enjoy the game to play with all these new characters and racers, and a dedicated Twitter page that's going to post updates and talk to the viewers and the fans who get stuck and they want to find out more about the game's future.